The Diary of a CEO podcast is hands down one of the best, if not the best podcast on entrepreneurship that I know. I absolutely love it. So in this episode, I'm going to dissect the episode with Daniel Priestley, the money-making expert, to show you how Daniel and Stephen Bartlett create impact, what their voice tells us about them and what they're really thinking, because your voice and your speaking reveals a lot more about you than you think. And I'm going to show you how they're building their authority and credibility this way, but also where they're losing power. Enjoy.
I've started 7 businesses that have gone 0 to $1 million in their first 12 months, 3 businesses that went north of 10 million. But here's a crazy thing. Anyone can do this. And I'm going to take you step by step through the best ways to start making that life-changing amount of money.
Speaking facts really quickly using numbers absolutely ups the credibility. Ending on a provocative statement makes us feel connected.
Daniel Priestley,
money and business expert.
That's helped thousands of people start, scale, and grow their own multi-million pounds businesses from scratch.
Now, we're adding social proof by using different voices. Do you hear? There's a male voice and there's a female voice commenting on what Daniel Priestley is doing, adding extra credibility. And then thirdly, we've got a picture of Stephen Bartlett looking at him approvingly, which tells us, oh wow, look, it's not just him saying one thing, it's Stephen Bartlett approving of it, equals this must be good. And boom, we're invested already.
It's absolutely crazy to me that so many of you have decided to watch our show, and so many of you have decided to subscribe to our show. We now have 5 million subscribers on YouTube, which is a number that I just can't comprehend. And it's a dream that I absolutely never could have had. We started the Diary of a CEO just over 3 years ago now. And in my wildest expectations, we might have had 100,000 subscribers by now. So you can imagine how shocked I am that so many of you have chosen to tune into these conversations every week and spend some time with us. So thank you.
I'm not surprised that this is so successful because the show is epic. And here's a little bit of why. There's something about Stephen's interview style which is particularly interesting. And it is that it is direct and to the point. And he starts at questions that most people would take an hour, if they ever got there, to ask. He's unafraid of asking questions, of going deeper. He's also unafraid of being transparent himself and sharing himself, which is unlike most traditional business podcasts that really stick to this kind of more corporate facade style of speaking. Here we go real. Of course, we're fascinated with Stephen Bartlett himself. He's young, he's been successful, extremely successful from the age of 23 being a millionaire, and from a diverse and underprivileged background. We are fascinated to learn from you. But then the way he speaks, it's beautiful because he's not arrogant, nor does he play the underdog card. He is really level with everybody, and that is not only fascinating, it provides really high value and high intensity content. There is no waffle here. Now, my personal style would be more entertaining, more laughs, more breaths. But his style is high intensity, high focus, and it's in integrity with who he is, so it works.
So as always, if you appreciate what we're doing here, the simple, free favor I'll ask from you is to hit the subscribe button. Let's get on with the episode.
What I do find fascinating is that this beginning part is in contrast to the way that he speaks in the rest of the show. And what I mean by that is you can see that his eyes go in different places and his voice is slightly underactivated. And when he says, let's get on with the show, his voice has a certain impatience in it. I think if he owned his feelings more, he'd look straight in the camera and tell us just how excited he is. But as with many business people, they're more comfortable talking about the actual things and facts and matters. This emotional realm is where we have some room for expansion.
Daniel, if someone has just clicked on this podcast, can you tell me the reason why they should stay around and listen and what you think they're going to get from this conversation?
I think we're living through the most incredible time in history. Never before have people had the opportunity to build something that is a global business, full of fun, freedom, and flexibility, full of passion and purpose. And today that is accessible to almost anyone who'd be listening to this podcast. The baby boomers, they got access to affordable housing. We get access to affordable global small businesses. Now, the entrepreneurial journey is scary to a lot of people, but if you conduct the right experiments, have the right mindset, follow the right process, it's really predictable and safe for people to get involved in entrepreneurship. And I think anyone who's listening to this is going to see that it's a lot more process-driven than they think, that we can go step by step to build a business that you absolutely love.
I'm a big fan of this response. Upon the question of why should we listen, Daniel does not justify himself, his greatness, or his success, but he sets a context. He gives us an orientation of where we are and where we're going to go under his guidance. By drawing the map, he sets himself up as a navigator, as our guide, which gives him instant credibility and authority.
The entrepreneurial journey is scary to a lot of people, but if you conduct the right experiments, have the entrepreneurial journey is scary to a lot of people, but if you conduct the right experiments, have the right mindset, follow the right process, it's really predictable and safe for people to get in.
So he tells us there's a great opportunity for us and then immediately catches us into a net of safety by saying that it's possible for every one of us to achieve that because we're going to go step by step.
On the other end of this conversation, in an hour's time or 2 hours' time, or whenever this podcast finishes, what are they going to have that they didn't have before this conversation?
We're going to talk about the entrepreneurial journey as a set of steps, predictable steps, and they're going to be able to have a map of how do you move through that entrepreneurial journey? Like, what do you do first? What do you do next? How do you go to the next level and scale up? And who do you contact? And it's based upon literally coming across thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs at each stage of the journey. So ideally, what I want people to walk away with is just that clarity around how this entrepreneur thing works.
Not only do you see a map of possibility, you are also in safe hands. Clever.
And who are you? What's your experience?
So my background is over 20 years of entrepreneurship. I started my first company when I was 21 years old. I did 2 years working for a mentor from 19 to 21. We built a business from scratch to millions of revenue. I then left that mentor. I went out on my own, started my own first small business. It grew very rapidly. We went from 0 to $1 million in the first year and then 10 million in year 3. I started 7 businesses since that have gone 0 to $1 million in their first 12 months. I've done 3 businesses that went north of 10 million.
And what about this accelerator? I read that you have an accelerator where you have thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs who come to your accelerator for business advice coaching from getting from 0 to, up on that, up to their trajectory.
Yeah. So 12 years ago, I noticed this trend around this idea of global small businesses. And I basically saw that technology was making it possible for anyone to do the things that multinational corporations were doing. And I started an entrepreneur accelerator designed for people to position themselves as a key person of influence, to build their personal brand, to build a core team of people around them, to digitize the value that they offer, and to take the most or make the most of the times that we're living in.
In this phase of the interview, Daniel and Stephen are clearly finding their feet in what's going to become a really juicy conversation. But right now, we're at the introduction of the topic. You can hear that Daniel has said these things 1,000 times over. He's not extremely inspired just yet. But as much as I'd love to say, get the enthusiasm up and really captivate us, here in this case, it actually translates into more credibility to hear that he has said these things many times before. I now know this is a teacher who has a lot of experience. So at this point, less emotion is more.
And you go through that entrepreneurial journey with other people who are going through it as well.
Do you think anyone can be an entrepreneur?
If you listen really closely, you'll notice he doesn't like this question as much. Maybe because he's been asked this 1,000 times, but you can hear his voice goes into a repetitive pattern and then drops a little bit lower where we have a bit more fry. He does get out of it, but you can just hear, this is not his favorite.
I think entrepreneurial spirit is something that we're all born with. Entrepreneurship is this idea that we want to create value for others, that we want to take a little bit of a creative risk, that we want to do something that represents self-expression. There are different stages to the entrepreneurial journey, and everyone can go through those stages. There's also not one type of entrepreneur. There are people who are very good at finance. There are people who are good at operations. There are people who are visionaries. There are people who are doers and get the stuff done. And there are businesses that suit those types of people. So it's about finding out who you are, finding out what kind of business would actually be well suited to that person, and then making sure that you're doing the thing that you're well suited to.
Top interview technique presented here by Daniel Priestley. Whether he liked the question or not, he brings it back to a point that serves us all. It's about find out who you are and what you're most suited to. Not only does that serve his audience, it also provides Stephen with a nurturing ground to ask a question that's even more relevant and juicy and interesting so that they can both have the conversation they really want and really get into it. Top.
How does one know that a business would be suited to them? Because if you gauged on the people that come up to me.
Did you see that? Stephen is rearranging himself in the chair. He's coming to life. We're leaving the script and diving into an actual conversation. Yes.
Everyone's got an idea. Nobody seems to be short of ideas, but so many people seem to be stuck at that moment of making a decision to pursue a particular idea that they almost get like paralysis, like sofapreneurs. all of their ideas stay on the sofa that they were conceived on, but they never seem to get out of the sofa because of like that paralysis. I don't know if this is the one. I get that all the time. Is this the idea?
The thing is, we need to sharpen our ideas in the market, not in our minds.
And boom, Daniel lands a juicy, provocative one-liner. We need to sharpen our ideas in the market, not in our mind. Clearly a chapter heading of something that he's created before. It's a good idea to have an ideas bank of provocative one-liner ideas that you can communicate effectively like he just did.
So we have to conduct tests where we fail fast and fail cheap if we fail at all.
As the next one, fail cheap, fail fast if you fail at all.
When someone has an idea, I say set up a very simple waiting list landing page, 30 million businesses in the USA. And that basically means that there's a lot of businesses doing a lot of things that already exist. So the market might not have an unmet need. The market might say, hey, I already have a great cupcake supplier. There's already someone who makes great coffee in my neighborhood. We don't need another one. Okay, fair enough. Let's have another idea, right? You can always have plenty more ideas. So you've got to test. The faster you can get on with conducting a fast and cheap test, the better you're going to, go with your entrepreneurial idea.
Ooh, Daniel is now coming to life. You can see he's relaxing, he's laughing a bit, he's having fun, he's doing role play. And when he's relaxing, having fun, we can enjoy this whole conversation a lot deeper as well. So impact is not just about making clear, concise points, but also relaxing your energy so that it feels like a good flow.
Because that's one of the big sort of mental barriers that people have, is they see that committing to any of these ideas is going to cost them 3 years, their reputation, and potentially hundreds of thousands of their money or an investor's money. So that, again, creates paralysis, because the discomfort associated with being wrong when you think there's so much on the line will hold you in place. But your idea there of just throwing up a landing page immediately kills the paralysis.
And also just a landing page of a waiting list. So you're not even saying that this thing's a dead certain. You're just saying we're going to be launching something if we get enough interest. And here's the waiting list. And by the way, this is what really smart entrepreneurs do. Like Elon Musk launched a waiting list. One of the best mindsets that we have as an early stage entrepreneur is the mindset of a scientist conducting a little experiment. And what we're trying to do is not be emotionally attached to what happens one way or another.
Stories and metaphors really bring your point home. We're now no longer entrepreneurs hoping for success and fearing the failure. We're now scientists conducting an experiment. Boom. So easy to explain emotional detachment.
A waiting list is probably the most powerful early stage experiment you could go with.
Interesting. The other point you said within there was about, you said there's kind of two things, what you're passionate about and what the market wants. Now, on the point of passion, it's so cliche. People say, follow your passions, do things you're passionate about, etc. How important do you think the role of passion is in actually succeeding at any of these ideas? So if I've got 4 ideas, cupcake business, floristry business, soccer business, and AI business, what role does my own intrinsic passion of any of these areas matter in the chances of success?
And here we're hearing Stephen come to life with more vocal dynamics, more volume, more speed, and more melody. Often Stephen holds back in his range of expression, but you can tell that there are quite a lot of introverted traits in him. Also, because he's such a young person in a mind that's very, very developed and evolved with such a high success, I can imagine that he's somebody who likes to observe rather than blurt out, which also means he's an excellent listener. You can tell because he keeps picking up exactly the points and the words that Daniel used to drive the conversation forward. It must be very enjoyable having a conversation with him. So bright. But I really celebrate the spaces where he himself comes to life and allows himself to express.
When I ask people about why you're doing this thing, I want them to start the story a long time ago. And I want them to tell me about little wins that they've had along the way that have led to this moment, which is why they're starting this business. To me, that's great. Because anything that we keep coming back to as a recurring theme is what we're meant to be doing. So for me,
this is so golden.
Going right back to age 10, I have experiences throughout my teenage years and going back to age 10 that were about business as a force for good. And it goes right back to a garage sale that I did when I was 10 years old. We had a house fire. It was a horrible experience, but it turned into a positive experience because I set up this garage sale and made some money, and something bad happened and I turned it into something good through business.
Actually, Daniel is making a really passionate point, and I would have loved for him to give me more liveliness in his story.
So the origin story is really powerful. The vision for the future is, what do I want to see happen in the future? If all of this goes well and other people are doing it too, what would this look like in the future? What would 10 years from now, 20 years from now be if we were celebrating? What would we love to be celebrating? And then the mission is, what is the most high value thing that I could possibly do that's in alignment with that vision? So essentially, if there is a strong alignment between origin, mission, and vision, something happens where you carry yourself in a different way. You sit differently, you speak differently, you're in this alignment. Other people pick up on it. They want to quit their job and come and work on your team. They hear about the vision, they hear about your origin story, they hear about the mission, and they go, oh, I'm going to leave what I'm doing and come and join that. And that's the magic of entrepreneurship. So for me, that's passion. It's not about like superficially, I like snowboarding, or I've always enjoyed baking a cake. It's the alignment of origin, mission, and vision.
Have you ever heard such a clear definition of what passion is and how to use it? This alignment of origin, mission, and vision, and how that really serves you? I love this. The clarity that Daniel Priestley brings to business is second to none. Now, I could talk about this for a good few hours more, but I will only do so if you want that too. So drop me a comment if you want more of this. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel if you find this useful. The idea here is to help you become more impactful in your speaking, whether it's an interview or pure content development, by understanding what masterful communicators and impactful business people do. Hope you found this enjoyable and useful. Do let me know in the comments, and I will see you soon. Thank you for watching.